Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'd like to talk about a place that most of people have never visited, but almost everyone in the world depends on. It's called the Strait of Hormuz. You may have heard this name in the news recently, especially when people talk about the tensions in the Middle East, rising oil price or global trade. At first, it might seem like just another narrow waterway on the map, but in reality, the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important locations in the global economy. Today, I'd like to explain why this place matters so much, what happens when ships cannot pass through it, and why people all over the world would care about it. So, let's begin. First of all, what is the Strait of Hormuz? The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow passage that connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. Countries such as Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates export a large portion of their oil and natural gas through this route. Although the strait is the only few dozen kilometers wide, its narrowest point, it carries an enormous amount of global energy, around 20 million barrels of oil per day. Roughly a quarter of the world's seaborne oil trade normally passes through it. Think it about a moment. A single narrow waterway is responsible for transporting a significantly share of the world's oil trade. That's why it's often called a global choke point. Now you can be asking, why can't ships simply using another road? Well, the answer is simple. There aren't many alternatives. Some countries have pipelines that bypass by the strait, but those pipelines cannot replace all of the oil and gas normally transported by sea. For many exporters, the Strait of Hormuz is the fastest and most efficient route to customers around the world. This means that if shipping is disrupted, the consequences are felt almost immediately. So, what happens if the strait becomes unsafe and even closed? The first impact is usually on oil price. That's what we are seeing now. When markets believe that oil supply could be interrupted, prices tend to increase because traders expect shortage. Sometimes even the possibility of conflict is enough to make prices rise. And when oil becomes more expensive, transportation also becomes more expensive as well. Think about trucks, airplanes, cargo ships, buses, and even the product that you buy in the supermarket. Almost everything depends on transportation. Higher fuel costs eventually affect the price of food, electronics, clothes, and many other products. This is the one reason why events happening thousands of kilometers away can affect our daily life. Another important impact is in the inflation. When companies spend more on fuel, they often increase the price of the other projects. Consumers and end up paying more, and central banks may need to keep interest rates higher to control the inflation. So, a conflict in one region can eventually influence business investment and even employment in countries far away. Now, let's talk about shipping, because it's the area that I used to work in the past. As someone who works in the international shipping, I found this especially interesting. When a region becomes dangerous, ship companies must make difficult decisions, and some vessels wait before entering the conflict area. Others choose longer and more expensive roads. Insurance companies also increase their permissions because the risks become much higher. That means every voyage becomes more expensive, and those extra costs usually reach consumers in the end. Another consequence is the uncertainty. Business don't like uncertainty. Companies need to know when the product will arrive. Factories need raw materials, for example. Stores need inventory. If ships are delayed, supply chain becomes less reliable. We have already seen how fragile global supply chain can be in recent years. Even like this remind us that the international trades depends not only the ships and ports, but also for the political sustainability. There is also a geopolitical dimension. Many of the world's largest economy rely on energy that pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Countries like Asia, especially China, India, Japan, and South Korea, import large amounts of oil from Gulf. Europe is also affected because energy prices influence manufacturers and transportation costs. That means government around the world closely monitor everything that's happening in this region. In recent weeks, tensions have once again reduced the shipping through the strait, raising concern about the oil supplies, freight markets, and also energy security. Personally, I think that the Strait of Hormuz teaches us an important lesson. Our world is much more connected than we sometimes realize. A political decision is one of the country can influence fuel price somewhere else. A shipping delay can affect factors in another continent. A conflict in the region can change financial markets around the world. Globalization has created incredible opportunities, but it's also created new dependencies. That's why understanding global trade is becoming more important for everyone, not only for people who work on logistical shipping. If we want to understand inflation, the economy, or even the price of gasoline, we need to understand how goods move around the world. Finally, I'd like to leave you with one question. Do you think the world depends too much on a few critical trade routes like the Strait of Hormuz? Or do you think countries should invest in more alternatives and energy sources? I'd like to understand and hear your opinion. You can drop it in the comments and thank you very much for watching this another video.